Happy July, folks, and welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the July 3rd, 2023 edition of Raw Talk. So they made the announcement last week, not on this show, but through WWE.com or whatever. And I mentioned here in my review last week, they switched up the announcers, because as you probably saw while watching Raw, Jackie Redmond's on Raw now, replacing Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly will be on SmackDown starting this week, replacing Megan Morant. And we were told last week Megan Morant would now be on Raw Talk and SmackDown Lowdown. They did not make mention of this here, but Scott Stanford was in the role of Jackie Redmond, Megan Morant, whatever, alongside Matt Camp. So I don't know if that's a regular thing, if she's only going to be doing SmackDown Lowdown. Scott's going to be on Raw Talk with Matt Camp. I'm not really sure, but they filled in for Jackie, Megan, whatever on the show. That being Scott Stanford alongside Matt Camp. So they open up the episode replaying the opening segment from Raw with Cody Rhodes seemingly accepting Rollins' next challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship before being interrupted by Brock Lesnar. And we heard from Cody a little bit later on in the night, but it looks like that match is essentially official as we figured it would be for SummerSlam coming up next month. They recap the Tag Team Turmoil match won by Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, making them the new number one contenders to the WWE Women's Tag Team titles coming up soon. They didn't say a date, I don't think. We hear from Deville and Chelsea Green with Byron Saxton backstage. Sonya basically says that they're the only team to beat 4 teams in the entire women's division, which I guess that's true. I don't know. They've done tag team turmoils before and fatal 4-ways and 5-ways and whatever the fuck. I mean, technically Bayley and Sasha, I guess they didn't beat all 4 or 5 teams themselves, but they had an Elimination Chamber match to crown the first ever women's tag team champions that Sonya was a part of 4 or 5 years ago. So technically they beat 4 or 5 teams, but whatever. Anyway, I guess that doesn't count because it was so long ago. And they just talk about that. They insult what Byron was wearing. They say that his tie and shoes don't match or whatever. His suit and shoes don't match, and that was it. So that was the quick interview with Sonya and Chelsea. I don't even really think we heard from Chelsea here, which was a bummer because I find her the more entertaining of the two in this tag team. They replay the Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler segment where Baszler went off on Rousey and kind of told the truth basically about why she turned on her. And we hear from Camp afterward, and he says that, or no, rather, we hear from Shayna first. We hear from Shayna backstage, and she says that to Byron that it's been building for a very long time as far as what happened. And it felt good to feel her tendon in her ankle, she said, as talking about Ronda Rousey and beating her up, and she said it felt good to just shut her up on Raw. So nice NXT, shades of NXT Baszler in that interview there. I thought that was great. And Matt Kim kind of attempts to explain her actions. So we kind of heard her logic for why she wanted to turn on Ronda. What they did not explain in the segment on Raw, what they did not explain from Shayna on this show, and what Matt Kim kind of neglected to mention in his own explanation of her actions, was why now? I mean, I understand why she felt like she was in Ronda's shadow and whatever, but why now, though? They went so far as to win the tag team titles, and she turned on her mid-match. Unless I missed something, there was literally no signs of dissension whatsoever in that match, in any segment leading up to that match. Why not do it before or after, or not even win the titles at all? Completely fucking pointless. So I don't know. Again, I understand why she did it, but when she did it, it kind of felt like they did it just to swerve people, which it worked. I mean, it was certainly a swerve, but these things kind of have to make sense. Why she did it when she did not make sense. But I'm glad that NXT Shayna seems to be back. I love the segment from Raw, honestly. I thought Shayna came across great. Whether this sticks or not after Ronda leaves, seemingly, reportedly, remains to be seen. She might be putting over her friend on the way out and making her look like a badass. That's great. The question is if WWE will continue on with that with Shayna after Ronda is gone. I'm reckoned to believe no. I'm kind of led to believe no, just based off of how they've booked Shayna up to this point on the main roster, but time will tell. They recap the Ronda Rousey, or rather, I wrote down Ronda here, the Rhea Ripley-Natalya Women's World Championship match, which was actually quite good. I don't give a fuck about Natalya at this point, but she had quite a good match, looking competitive in defeat. Rhea going over, still the Women's World Champion. Liv and Raquel come out afterward. I mean, listen, I'm all for Raquel and Rhea having a match. They teased it a couple of weeks ago. I said as much then. The problem is that they're the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Should they not be focused on their new challengers of Chelsea and Sonya? Not that people can't pull double duty, but it's like when Rhea's got to start facing the fucking tag team champions, it doesn't speak well to the depth of the division right now for the Raw Women's division. So Matt Cam says that it probably would not be smart for Io Sky, who confronted Rhea after her match on Raw this week. It would not be smart for Io to be cashing in on Rhea, despite their history from NXT. She's beaten Rhea before. I think Rhea's beaten her as well. Would not be smart for her to cash in on Rhea because Rhea is ready for anything and anyone. She's beaten Zelina Vega, she's beaten Natalya, she's beaten Charlotte, she's beaten Dana Brooke. She has beaten a whole heap of competitors since becoming champion. Not nearly enough as she should be because she's been champion now for 3 months. Her reign has not been great, necessarily. He's just saying that, listen, she should probably be setting her sights elsewhere, probably in Asuka, not to discredit Asuka, he says, but she's got a lot going on with the chaos with Bianca and Charlotte. She might be in a more vulnerable position right now than Rhea Ripley, who was, like I said, on edge and ready for anyone. Matt Camp says as far as Damian Priest goes, and his Money in the Bank briefcase, he's got a lot to think about before cashing in, because it seemed like he was going to cash in at Money in the Bank, and then he was going to cash in on Raw last night. Balor kind of thwarted that. Accidentally, on purpose, we don't really know. So he's got a lot to think about before cashing in his contract. And it could be Roman Reigns. I mean, we just saw the guy get pinned, but Matt Camp also points out it took him, over 1,000 days to finally get pinned? So, I mean, that might not be the smartest decision either, to wait until Roman Reigns is ready, and he might not be ready to drop that championship for another fucking 5 years, and Damian's only got 1 year. They recap the Drew McIntyre return from Money in the Bank, as well as Riddle and Giovanni Vinci from Raw, which was won by Riddle. And Imperium attacking Riddle afterward. Drew McIntyre making the save for Riddle. And we hear from Imperium real quickly following that backstage here with Byron Saxton. Vinci says that Riddle got a quick win over him and that'll never happen again. And before he can accept Riddle and McIntyre's tag team challenge, Gunther kind of steps in and says, I want to see it, and I'm going to accept it on your behalf. So it's going to be, we found out here, Riddle and McIntyre versus Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser specifically. Gunther will not be in that match. He's not going to be in that match. He said, fuck that. It's going to be Vinci and Kaiser in next week's tag team match. They also recap the ending of the show and the Judgment Day dissension, and like I kind of talked about before with Damian Priest. Will he cash in? Will he not cash in? Will Balor get involved? There's their jealousy there. A lot of Judgment Day questions right now that they're kind of teasing on the show, and they talk about that to end off the episode. They also plug Damian Priest, speaking of whom, Senor Money in the Bank, and Drew McIntyre for the bump coming up on Wednesday. So that was Raw Talk in a nutshell for July 3rd, 2023. Pretty straightforward stuff. We heard from Imperium, Shayna Baszler, Sonya and Chelsea. Nothing really newsworthy coming out of the episode, but it was fine for what it was. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. I'm Graham G. Matthews. Have a very happy 4th of July, and I'll catch your ass down the road.